Wrap up 2016 getting into 2017. Here we go. Winter storm warnings are up. Concord, New Hampshire, Peterborough also under one. Manchester, you're under a winter storm warning. Montpelier, Vermont, winter storm warning. Worcester, you're right on the edge, but you're under a warning. We've got some advisories now that are posted for places like Albany and Hartford, still under a winter storm watch. So we'll see which way you go, whether it's warning or advisory. For us to name a storm, we have a very specific criteria. We're trying to name the storms that are impactful, that people really need to take notice of. So more than 2 million people or 400,000 square kilometers of area need to be under a winter storm warning issued by the National Weather Service. And so that has happened now in the Northeast. We have more than 2 million people under winter storm warnings. The way this thing is going to develop is that we've got a piece of energy diving down in our jet stream with very strong jet stream winds. That's going to help our low pressure at the surface rapidly develop. It will be a nor'easter. We'll see those northeast winds as this low pressure tracks right along the coast, but it's an inside runner, so tracking close enough to the coast that for big cities along our northeastern seaboard, like Boston, like Providence, it's going to be more mild and it will fall as a chilly, windy rain for you. But inland, the snow is going to be heavy. The winds are still going to be very strong, and that snowfall could become down very heavy at times. In fact, more than an inch per hour is possible. So here we go with what's happening tonight into tomorrow is when things start to develop. Tomorrow night, that snow really coming down here across New England and then wrapping up early on Friday. Northern and central Maine picking up some big snow. Parts of New Hampshire, especially up at elevation, we're going to see more than 1.5 feet of snow in some spots, 2 feet plus. Actually, look at that right up here in northern New Hampshire. Vermont getting in with more than 1 foot of snowfall. Great for the ski resorts getting into the weekend. And then the lake effect snow behind it, great for snowmobilers here across western New York. Now let's take a look at Concord, New Hampshire as we time things out for you. That wind is going to be very strong, very blustery. I'm kind of stepping back so you can see it all. We've got winds that are going to be easily 20 plus miles per hour for hours on end, and that wind picks up Thursday night into early Friday morning. Snowfall rate is going to be very heavy. The timing of this for you in places like Concord, starting late in the day on Thursdays. This is about 9 o'clock. The snow coming in and starting heavy, continuing overnight Friday morning, the snow wrapping up, but then that wind continuing throughout the day on Friday. And again, that wind could be blowing around the snow, making it tough for travel. Speaking of travel, let's go south because it's not snow, but it is rain that we got to deal with.
Yeah, and the good.
So we are getting a little snow out there today, a little lake effect, and we're going to get a lot more behind this next system that's tracking in over the next 3 days. All right, so upper level low situated right over the Hudson Bay. That's going to bring the cold air right over the still unfrozen lakes here. We're going to get some of that lake effect snow across northern lower Michigan today, but we're especially going to get some off of Lake Erie today and Lake Ontario getting into Thursday and Friday. So here's how things are going to play out. Let's go into tomorrow. Fast forward, places like Buffalo and Syracuse, Binghamton, Rochester, all of those cities in the running for the Golden Snowball Award, and you are going to be getting some new snow. For Buffalo, it's mainly the south towns. It's going to be very windy, very blustery, and so some of these lake effect snow bands are going to be pretty long running as well, so we'll see some of that all the way into maybe northern Pennsylvania and all the way across central New York. Now, south of Watertown, the Tug Hill Plateau is right there. It's just a little bit of elevation, enough to really help that snow pile up to more than 1.5 feet of snow. South of Buffalo, town should get 8 to 12 inches of snow. Erie, you're right in that mix as well. Buffalo itself, we will get some new snow out of this, but again, the heavier amounts further south. Thursday night and early Friday, the timing, and then just cold and windy after that. Let's go south where it's not cold and it's not windy, so it's foggy. Nothing comes without hard work, right? And so you can't get to record warm temperatures every single day without something. In this case, it's been the fog that we have to get through in the morning before we warm up. It has been warm. All December it's been warm through the south and east, except with the exception of a couple days. But it's been a warm year, and so these are all the spots in the running for a warmest year on record, and it pretty much looks like a lock. Nashville, Asheville, Columbia, Atlanta, Birmingham, and Montgomery all running hottest year on record here. You look at the average temperatures, which compares the highs and the lows. It was a long, hot summer in the southeast. It's been a long, hot December in South Florida. So a number of spots running in your top 3 warmest Decembers on record. That comes after last year, which was a top 3. In Miami, you had your warmest December on record last December, 2015. December 2016 is going to be the warmest on record. It's a lock as well. Look at this month. Every single day, we're either above average or well above average, except the 9th and the 10th. And do you guys remember what happened on the 10th? I mean, you were in the 60s. It was cold. Everyone was bundled up in South Florida. And all of a sudden, it just warmed back up again and never cooled down since. So will it, actually, is a question you might be asking. Are we going to get a change, a return back to winter? And yes, we will. I mean, it's only December, and our coldest days of the season are still yet to come. It's not going to happen this week. We still have temperatures running above average. Dallas today, 10 to 30 degrees above average in Texas. And for Dallas, that puts us in the upper 70s. It's actually not record-breaking, but it is going to be very warm here today in Dallas. Farther north, we're warm. We're 35 degrees in Minneapolis. Our average high is 24. And yes, we had some cold days this month, but actually it's going to get cold again. So we keep it warm for the rest of the week into the weekend. We start the year above average at 31 degrees for high temperature on New Year's Day and the day after. And then we get a cold snap. And here temperatures drop off getting into the first full week of the new year. And it stays that way for a little bit. Our pattern is finally going to change compared to what we've had for the last, say, 10 days or so. Big dip in our jet stream. And with that, we're going to finally get some cold air to come in and sink down in. So a big ridge in our jet stream over the west. And then that's over the Pacific, and then dipping down all across the country into a ridge over the Atlantic. So this is a pretty stuck pattern. It doesn't move very much. It means temperatures are going to be dropping off. We're going to get that cross-polar flow to get some cold air. First stop, though, is into the northern Rockies and the northern plains. This happens the first week of the new year, and then it shifts to the east, too. So the next, say, 10 to 15 days get very cold in the east. Is this the coldest of the year? Well, you know, it could be, but we take a look at when we typically see our coldest days of the year. In the west, it actually comes in December. In places like Seattle, we had a cold December. In the east, we don't get our coldest days in the year until maybe late January or early February. So be aware, it's still yet to come, I think, with some colder days ahead. Meantime, let's go to the Midwest and see what's happening there today. It's past the hour. We've got to look at the big picture for today. Now, Cantori always calls this the Lego map, but I think it's more like Minecraft. Got my kids and my nieces and nephews all playing Minecraft over the holiday break. Send them outside, though. Send the kids outside with these temperatures that are going to be well above average. We've got that story covered for you. The next big winter storm in the making here. It happens starting tomorrow. So we've got to look at where you're going to be piling up more than a foot of new snowfall here in the Northeast. And then behind that, we've got lake effect snow. So it's all happening on this Wednesday for you right here on AMHQ. Welcome back. It's about 30 minutes past the hour. Reynolds Wolf, Anna Rodriguez, and I have got your forecast for today and the rest of 2016 and the start to 2017. What are you doing, Reynolds?
Oh, I'm playing Minecraft. Yeah. No, my kids are doing the same thing. My kids love that.
It's actually pretty fun.
Yeah, one thing may not be too fun for you, or could be a lot of the messy conditions you're going to deal with across parts of the country. Good in some places where you could have several feet of snow, but in other places, a jumbled mess.
You know, I feel like every day is a travel day right now. And so travel is going to be disrupted by this next big winter storm, Fortis. We had a lot of travel and strong winds that blew around all that snow in North Dakota. You guys remember that well, I'm sure, just 2 days ago. Now we look ahead to the next winter storm in the making that comes to the Northeast. This one will also have some very strong winds. We're going to be looking at snowfall piling up in the interior parts of the Northeast. That's where the winter storm warnings are up. Winter storm watches right now across parts of Maine. Winter weather advisories across New York State, including into Albany. New York City, just expecting rain. Providence, Rhode Island, rain. Boston, rain for you. And that's because as we watch our system develop right along the coast, this will be a nor'easter, but it's taking an inside track. So for folks right along the coastline, it's going to be mild enough. It's not going to be warm, but mild enough that it will be rain and not snow. However, inland, with this very strong low pressure that will be forming, this is going to be some heavy snow inland, and it's going to be coming down at a pretty fast clip, meaning that visibility is going to be reduced, travel is going to be disrupted. I-90 is going to be one of the roads to watch. Also traveling 93 up into New Hampshire, it's going to be another road to watch. 95 should be okay. We've got to watch how everything ends Thursday night and Friday morning. It could end actually as some snow, possibly in Boston, but certainly interior parts will be piling up more than a foot to even 2 feet of snow. All right, let's go further south. There is a rainy side to the storm system as well, Reynolds.
There definitely is a rainy side to this.
People who have lived through winters on the East Coast are familiar with long poles sticking out of deep snowbanks. They identify where fire hydrants are for firefighters and for safety, but firefighters still have to dig them out if they need to get to the water supply. Now, a very creative invention may make it a lot easier and cheaper to get the hydrants during the winter. It's called a hydrant snorkel. So joining me now to tell us how it works is the inventor, firefighter Lieutenant John Creel. John, thank you so much for bringing this to us. Tell us about the hydrant snorkel, how it works. Snorkel.
Well, the city that I work.
Hydrants get snow covered and you need them to attend to a fire. You know, all firefighters on duty. Just real quick, how do people find out about this? Lieutenant John Creel, thank you so much. John is the inventor of the hydrant snorkel, so we appreciate you bringing that to us and our viewers today. All right, Reynolds, let's get us into the upcoming weekend in view. We're going to go farther north and talk about the next big snowstorm, Winter Storm Fortis, Latin word for strong, and this is going to be a strong one. A very strong low pressure is going to drive more than a foot of snow in northern New England. So winter storm warnings are up. That's this darker blue color. A lighter blue, we got the winter weather advisory, which includes Albany, and then still winter storm watch is out for parts of Massachusetts. Portland right now under winter storm watch. We'll see if that becomes a winter weather advisory or a winter storm warning. I went through that snowfall too quickly. I want to show you that real quick. We've got our next little piece of energy. There we go. Thanks, Catherine. Next piece of energy coming in, and that's what's going to help develop this snowfall. 8 to 12 inches of snow, pretty widespread in northern New England, western Mass, up into Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. And there will be spots that get more than a foot or even 2 feet of snow when you get some elevation up here across western Maine and into northern New Hampshire. So this is the piece of energy right here. You can see where we've got this driving down today in the northern branch of the jet stream. There's also going to be some play from the subtropical jet as well, just to help bring some moisture and tie it up into this system. So here we go. We watch this dive very far south as we get you into the next 24 hours. So that's a piece of energy with a very strong jet stream. And the fact that we're going to have the strong jet stream will help develop our low pressure rapidly. We're expecting this thing to bomb out, which means it's going to lose 24 millibars in at least 24 hours, and it'll probably do it in about 12 hours. So strong low pressure at the surface with this will help develop our snowstorm in interior parts of the Northeast. Now, there's saying when it comes to forecasting snowfall in these northeastern storms, predict the high pressure, predict the snow. So yes, a storm is a low pressure, but the high pressure up here across eastern Canada is pretty important because it's a source of cold air for these snowstorms. What do you notice that's missing about this weather map? There's no big, strong high centered right up here across eastern Canada. So yes, we're going to have a storm, and we're going to have a very strong storm moving right up along the coast, a nor'easter. And there'll be enough cold air to get some snow in inland areas, but along the coast, because of this inside track of the storm, it's going to be more mild, and we'll have just a cold rain for most cities here right along the eastern seaboard. There is some high pressure, right? But actually the source of the air is more continental than it is going to be polar. So we're going to be looking for temperatures to be 40s or even upper 30s in places like New York and Boston. But interior spots will be cold enough that we get snow. And because of the storm is so strong, that snow is going to really pile on up. We get to Thursday night where things really get cranking here with this low pressure developing right along and off the coast. And that will bring us snow into places like Worcester and up into Manchester and Concord, New Hampshire. Get ready for some big snows. Now, I mentioned Worcester. We're going to be all snow. It's going to be cold aloft. It's going to be cold all the way down to the surface. This is what the temperature profile will look like as you go up to about 10,000 feet in the atmosphere. But Boston, while it's going to be cold at about 10,000 feet, and it'll be cold high up in the sky, down at the surface, it's going to be a little more mild, 37 degrees. So we're likely to just get a cold rain, maybe ending in some wet snow in Boston.